Today we're going to look at some Patrick Moore videos. He's the gadget that brought us The Sky at Night and later Games Master. A legend in his own right, you might agree. So let's have a look at what the gadget's got to say.
I believe that the Earth is a planet, a globe nearly 8,000 miles across going around the Sun. I believe that the Moon is another globe going around the Earth, that the Sun is a star, and that the other stars are themselves suns. And I base this upon what I hope is reasonable interpretation of the facts as I've been told them, and the things that I've seen through this telescope.
Next, Patrick Moore interviews two old flat earthers, and I want you to pay particular attention to the gadget's flat earth model using magnetism. And always, I encourage you to leave conclusions in the comments section. Cheers.
I believe, that we're all nowadays too conventional and too regimented. We believe what we're told, and we do as we are told. What I want to do in this programme is to examine the ideas and the views of some people who aren't shackled in this way, who are quite prepared to go out on a limb and think for themselves. Now, whether they're right or whether they're wrong is neither here nor there. I may fundamentally disagree with quite a lot of what we're going to hear. This doesn't matter. This is merely a question of personal opinion. And of course, in astronomy, there's a great deal we don't know. But we're learning more every year, in fact, every month. For example, we have now the idea of going out into space with projects such as Apollo.
20 seconds out, we get a loud and clear, Frank Borman. All looks great.
As the astronauts went moonward, they could see the Earth. And to most people, this new view confirmed that the world is a globe, but not to everyone. And while in Apollo 8, the commander, Colonel Borman, mentioned the views of Mr. Samuel Shenton, president of the International Flat Earth Society, who lives in Dover and who believes the Earth is shaped like a gramophone record, with the North Pole in the middle and a wall of ice all round the edge.
Links very much with the statement which was given out by General Boardman, the astronaut. He spoke about the Earth in its early stages. The Earth in its early stages was revealed from the waters, and it was revealed as a four-square fabric.
Like this, in fact?
Absolutely like that.
And this is water around it?
Absolutely, yes. The waters were dispelled from the Earth, and the whole thing was covered by a heaved-up structure, shamihim in the Hebrew, a heaved-up structure actually in water.
What about the astronauts, then? If they didn't, in fact, go round the Earth, what did they go round?
Their track goes across the Earth's surface,
yes,
so much so that...
Here. The North Pole in the middle and the South Pole all round.
Yes. The astronauts fired off from Cape Canaveral, or Kennedy as it is today. They went on an egg-shaped orbit over this like that.
Keeping the same height all the time?
Absolutely so. Dr. Littleton said that to put a thing into orbit, you carry it up to a height and then level off.
What exactly is this line here?
Oh, those result from the camera photographing the horizon, and the photographs result in these humped effects, which people are presented with that they think the Earth is round.
In fact, there isn't any South Pole.
No. The 60,000 miles was round the ice barrier, and so far man has not gone across the ice barrier to investigate any further.
And I wonder if everything now is so stereotyped and conventional that independent thought is stifled early on. And if so, does school play a part in the stifling? I decided to ask the boys of Homewood House, near Tunbridge Wells, whether they accepted everything that their masters told them, or whether they were ready to strike out along an independent line.
Why does snow fall down?
Freezing.
It's water freezing.
And it's too heavy to be held up by the atmosphere, so it falls down.
Why does it fall down? This is the point.
Gravity.
Gravity, yes. Now, what's gravity? Do you know?
Newton discovered.
Yes, now, one at a time. What do you think gravity is?
Well, it is, as it says, a push or a pull, which makes things fall towards the earth.
This is what you've been told, isn't it?
Yes.
Have you ever tried to prove it? What about you?
Well,
Yes.
you throw a stone up in the air, it comes down
I
again.
know it
Keep
does.
going.
What would you say, for example, of someone who said that the universe ended in a blank wall? Would you think this was reasonable?
No, that's illogical. What is what's on the other side?
Come on, you haven't had to say it yet. What do you think about it all?
Well, if it does end at the wall,
What's on the other side of the wall? There can't be just nothing. There's got to be something.
If on the other hand, if on the other hand the universe doesn't end, then it's got to go on forever, hasn't it? Well, can you imagine that?
No.
Of course you can't.
It's like a road, never ending and never beginning.
Do you ever question this? I mean, do you ever think that everything that we are taught, I'm not talking about religion at the moment, everything that we are taught about science particularly, just could be wrong, and there may be some frightful flaw that nobody's thought about? Has that ever occurred to you? Something really fundamental. I mean, in either mathematics or science itself, or anything you like. What would you say then? Any other?
But the molecule structure
Yes,
might be
here we are.
wrong.
The molecule structure might be wrong.
I mean, the molecules that we know are based on carbon.
Ah, now, who's told you this?
Our science master.
And you just accept it?
Naturally, because I can't think of anything else that it could be made up of.
I see. Well, that's a jolly good reason.
It could be some unheard of thing.
Very fair. They think for themselves, but perhaps only within certain limits. We must accept some things, I know that, but there's a danger that we're going to turn into regimented sheep if we accept too much. Or have we already done it? And I very much fear that I'm one of these sheep already. I've become ultra-conventional.
I believe that the Earth is a planet, a globe nearly 8,000 miles across going around the Sun. I believe that the Moon is another globe going around the Earth, that the Sun is a star, and that the other stars are themselves suns. And I base this upon what I hope is reasonable interpretation of the facts as I've been told them, and the things that I've seen through this telescope. What the independent thinker has to do is to start absolutely from scratch, look out into the universe, take what he sees there, and then put his own independent opinion on it without bothering about anybody else. And this is exactly what has been done by Mr. John Bradbury of Ashton-under-Lyne, who's thrown all orthodoxy out of the window and has constructed a picture of the universe that is all his own, based partly upon theory and partly upon observations made with his strictly unorthodox telescope. Well, Mr. Bradbury, this looks like a conventional telescope, but I gather it isn't.
No, it's far from being a conventional telescope because it isn't split up in the lenses. Most of the lenses in this telescope are at the eye end.
Down here, you
the
mean?
eyepiece end, yes. Yes, there's only one object lens at the other end.
What's the purpose of having so many lenses?
Well, you can't get the power without. You must have the power to bring the object very much closer. With a conventional telescope, you can't do that.
I would have thought that every time you passed a beam of light through an extra lens, you'd lose a bit of light.
Yes, that is so, that you do lose light. But looking at objects in the sky, you don't need to lose it.
Looking at your map of the Earth, it looks to me as if you've got the North Pole in the middle and all directions are south. Is this correct?
Yes, it is correct in that method.
What about gravity?
Sir Isaac Newton, when he was in an orchard in Lincolnshire, saw an apple fall from the tree, and he brought out his theory of gravity, that the gravity had drawn this apple to the ground. Yet he didn't make a law which held the other apples on. Now, he also said that if you could stand a needle up on its point without any support, he would believe that the world wasn't going round. Naturally, I had to bring out a new theory to prove the shape of the world, the shape of the Earth too, you see.
Which is what you've done.
Yes, that is it. And you see, no matter where we are on the Earth's surface, we will always be pulled back to the centre.
And that's why you can't go to the edge of the Earth, in fact.
Yes, you cannot go to the edge of the Earth.
Well, let's have a look at the actual diagram of the Earth itself, shall we? And this, I think, is very interesting. Here we are. Now, I know that you've got the Earth as with a flat top and kind of a round underneath. Is this correct?
Yes, that is quite so. Yes, you see, this is more like a jigsaw puzzle. You can't complete it without a flat-topped Earth.
So this is the entire universe, in fact?
Yes, you see, you've got the full metallic stony background, and this, of course, was where the flow of magnetism is.
What's this line down here?
Now, this line is for the sub-semi-vacuum. It divides the pure vacuum from the semi-vacuum which surrounds the Earth itself.
What about the Sun and Moon?
The Moon?
It's a flat disk, isn't it?
Not actually flat. It is slightly convex, but not much on the surface. Now, it is a disk of carbon.
The Moon's made of carbon,
Just carbon,
yes.
Just a carbon disk, which shows in this.
Yes.
This I saw 2 years ago on the harvest moon, September moon. And this material here is plasticine phosphorus, or a material very, very similar to that.
But where does that come from? Where does the plasticine phosphorus actually picked up?
It's circulating in the atmosphere. When the moon's waning, it allows it to go off, and when it's waxing, it picks it up again. Now, this illustration here is more of the moon itself, with a finger-like projection coming over the top. This happened in 1953, and the finger-like projection stayed on for 3 days.
There was only one there, was there?
There was only one, yes, definitely one. I built another telescope, and I used an astronomer's telescope too, to prove whether I was right or not, but I couldn't see it with the astronomer's telescope.
And was this due to the plasticine phosphorus spreading over the moon gradually?
Yes, but I think it picked a little more up than it should have done, you see. The surface of the moon, the thickness of the surface is around about 1 inch. This has been really worked out. Mathematically, it's really been worked out.
What incidentally about the sun? Do you think the sun is small also?
The sun would be, I should think, about twice the size of the moon, because it can, the moon can go in the front of the sun and cover the whole sun up. And that is why the sun really is only twice the distance from of the moon.
And of course, the sun presumably is very much hotter than the moon.
Yes, if we speak of hot as hot, but the sun actually is cold. It's very,
see.
very cold indeed, because we couldn't get a lot of heat. The sun wasn't cold, you see.
You know, I think you're going to be the first to admit that these ideas and theories of yours are not conventional ones.
Correctly, yes.
Well, I know that you've also given lectures at various universities. I mean, I wasn't at your lecture at Cambridge University or at Keele, but I heard about them, people who were. And how do you find that other people react to your ideas?
Well, some people, of course, when it's all explained thoroughly, they will accept it. But if it isn't explained thoroughly, well, of course, they think we're nutcases or something, you see.
Well, Mr. Bradbury hasn't yet started his photographic experiments, but when he does so, I am sure that the results will be truly remarkable. Let me concede that I don't pretend to agree with his theories, but I have the greatest admiration for him as a man who's had the moral courage to break clean away from every semblance of conventionality, strike out for himself, and lecture publicly about it with no fear of ridicule or scorn. To me, Mr. Bradbury is the supreme example of the independent thinker.
Aye, that Mr. Bradbury's something else, isn't he? Some terrific ideas he's got here about the flat earth. So, I've left some links in the comment section to get some flat earth maps and other stuff. Aye, and thanks for listening. Cheers.